What is going on, everybody? Welcome into the 7th installment of the TTB Trust the Bank live with the viewers. If this is your first time ever watching the stream or being a part of the stream, how this works is we talk about, whatever topics y'all ask us about, whether it be about the Ravens, whether it be about football, whether it be about anything else you want to ask about, we'll talk about it. We're going to have a good time. Obviously, the biggest kind of thing that's out right now is obviously the Ravens criticism and the Lamar criticism and things like that. But we shall see what happens. But overall, we're just here to have a good time. So, we're here to interact with you guys and talk with you and figure out, what we want to talk about. I see, I think it's Sancho. Mac, not Sancho, but it may be Sancho, says, "What's good, fellas? How you doing? Welcome to the stream." Obviously it takes a few minutes before we actually get a fair amount of people. So, we're just gonna be chilling. We're gonna be relaxing and getting ready to get into it. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully we got things to talk about. Just really waiting on training camp, really waiting on stuff to get back going. Honestly, I hate to say it, I'm like excited for the Pro Football Hall of Fame game.
Oh yeah, okay.
And it's like, even though the Steelers are playing, I think it's Steelers Colts, I want to say.
Not bad.
But it's just like, it's football. We don't even have the what was the league last year? What was that football league?
XFL?
Yeah, we don't have the XFL this year for the offseason. So it's been pretty boring. I see X Lee says, "Sup guys, what's going on, X Lee? How you doing?" We do have our first question. We got it from Charlie Bonner Jr. I'm assuming it's not Boner, like Ralph Boner from WandaVision. I think it's Charlie Bonner. But Joshua, I'll let you go first. How do you feel the defense is going to be this year?
Oh man, that's a good question. I mean, we always talk about it. Well, I talk about it the most. Defense wins championships. This weather on the East Coast right now is something else. But all in all, I really do feel like the defense is definitely going to make it. It's going to be an upgrade. I feel like our young guns and Oway and Mr. Dalen Hayes make the team. Then you got Tyus Bowers, coming back on a 4-year extension. I feel like when it comes down to that front seven has to make a statement this year. We already know what our secondary can do, but if the front seven does not get any type of pressure or generate any type of pressure and actually, produce some sacks to the quarterback, we could be looking at a tired secondary to save us. We don't want that. We don't want that throughout the whole season, especially, them pass heavy teams. We got to get at the quarterback. We got to be able to, to sack the quarterback. And, when we know, like a Josh Allen, if we know if he rolls out to his right side, we got to keep him contained on the right side and force him to his left, and get those sacks so we can help our secondary out. But I wouldn't say 50-50. I'm just ready. I'm ready for this defense to build off what they've been doing for the past couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a great defense. The question is, because I think when I talked about this once in another video. I can't remember exactly what it was, but the defense is going to be very good. I don't think there's a question about, how good the defense could be. I mean, this could definitely be it could be the best statistical defense in the NFL last year. However, what matters is the particular type of defense. And because the Ravens defense is situated to be able to shut down almost any offense in the NFL, except for one offense, and that is the Kansas City Chiefs. And if we are unable to stop the Kansas City Chiefs, even if we have the best defense in the NFL, it doesn't mean anything. So the real question should be, how will our defense play against the Chiefs? I think that they will play better than they have in recent years, just because of the recent additions that we made and the return of some key players. Guys like Tavon Young coming back, guys like that we drafted, Brandon Stevens and Sean Wade, can come back and make some plays on the football, because we need to get interceptions and we need Odafe a way to get around the outside and get some sacks on Patrick Mahomes. I think that's the biggest question. I think it is possible. I don't think we're going to hold the Chiefs or anything like that to 5 points. That's not going to happen. But if we can hold them to to 24, even 28 points, I feel like we have a really, really good shot of winning that football game. We just can't let them put up 40 or go up, 35 to 21. And then, we just can't come back. So I think the defense has a chance to be good enough, but we shall see. What's going on, Sutton Def? If you don't know Sutton Def from the Purple Rain podcast, how you doing? How you doing, Warden Zero? Warden Zero, good news for you. Eventually, we will start streaming on Sundays. So that's some good news for you. But I see Sancho says the media is waiting to. That's why they're reporting on BS. Yeah, the media, obviously, there isn't really anything going on in the football world. There isn't anything to talk about. Obviously they can talk about the NBA, but unfortunately for them, honestly, it's not even an unfortunately for them. It's an unfortunately for us. LeBron James, Steph Curry, like those guys aren't in the finals. So it's kind of fortunate for us just because when they're in the finals, every single show, the entire show is talking about that. They talk about the same guy. When LeBron is in the finals, all you hear about is LeBron. Whether or not you like LeBron is besides the point. It's like that's all you hear about. LeBron's not there. Curry's not there. They love to talk about Luka, not there. They love to talk about KD, not there. They got young guys, Giannis and Devin Booker, and it's a lot of fun to watch in the NBA Finals. However, the media is not able to just extract every possible juice out of those players because they're not in major markets. They're not, premier players media-wise, which is ridiculous. I love Giannis. I think he's an amazing player. I love Devin Booker. I love Chris Paul. Like, they're all great players, but, the media can't get anything. So what do they turn to? Old, reliable, insult Lamar Jackson. That's always what you go back to because they know that we are going to react and we are going to get upset and we're going to freak out. But I see a good question.
Turn the energy over to that USA basketball team.
Yeah, the problem is who's not on that team? LeBron, Steph Curry, like the guys they want to talk about. When we start seeing videos when Luka's in the Olympics, I can almost guarantee there will be more media coverage on Luka and where's he from? Slovenia, I think it is. There will be more coverage on that team than there will be on Team USA. Because they'll be like, let's see how far Luka can go. And Team USA will be out there kind of getting their butt kicked by Nigeria and Australia. And I got to say, what's up with Trae Young not making the team? Like he has willingly said, why am I not invited to this? He is one of the best players in the world. He balled out in the playoffs. And he's like, you invited JaVale McGee? I love that people are putting out
that's on that team.
He would be an unbelievable player. And they lost Bradley Beal and it's oh, you want to score? Replace him with Trae Young. They just decided, no, we're not going to do that. And he tweeted out, or I saw somebody else tweet out. They put up the Isaiah Thomas video and he was just it
was him. It was him.
Met the criteria to be selected. But I wasn't. He wasn't selected. And they've had 10 tries to select him. It's like Devin Booker trying to get into the All-Star game the last few years. People keep getting hurt. They keep saying no. Eventually they let him in. But what's going on? Izana or Zana, I can't say 100% which one it is, but says finally caught a stream. Well, welcome into the live stream. It's a lot of fun. We got a good question here from Sancho saying, how do y'all think I never know how to read this. Is it Duve? I always think Dev because it's Devin Duvernay, but I think it's Duve. How do you think Devin Duvernay will get used this year? I would use him in the slot a lot more. I'll go first with this. I firmly believe Devin Duvernay is the best slot wide receiver on the Ravens. However, I don't see him getting a lot of snaps. And that's really unfortunate because I'm a big fan of Duvernay. We've both been on the Duvernay train ever since he was drafted. However, I think that the Ravens have a better wide receiver in Tylan Wallace than they have in Devin Duvernay. Devin Duvernay, as a football player, could be better than Tylan Wallace because after the catch, after he gets the ball in his hands, he is a running back level player that can get the ball once he's in space. He's going to run you over. He's going to get by you, and he's going to score. So I see him really, unfortunately, being used as that that trick back, that H back type of role where it's just like maybe he lines up in the backfield for a couple of snaps. Maybe he goes on some jet sweeps, which is unfortunate because that's what we didn't like about what he was doing last year because we weren't getting to see him running route concepts. But now there's too many cooks in the kitchen, and it's going to be difficult for him to get wide receiver snaps, barring any sort of injury. I think he's going to be wide receiver 5 on the depth chart, unfortunately. But that just speaks to how good the Ravens receiving corps is when you have Devin Duvernay really at the bottom end of your depth chart as a third-round pick at wide receiver out of Texas. Like that just shows you how good he is. He's not falling down because he was like Miles Boykin and he's really struggling. He fell down because the Ravens got some really, really good football players. But Joshua, what do you think? Do you agree, or do you think that he'll get utilized in the slot and things like that?
I'm glad you said it because I really do think Tylan Wallace, as far as a receiver, will beat Dev for that fourth spot on the depth chart. And there's nothing against Devin Duvernay. Devin Duvernay is a explosive guy. He definitely, we all know, when he gets the ball, when he catches the ball, he can give you extra yardage. It's just for the simple fact that I'm not saying I wouldn't say that we're trying to match everyone as far as making it a passing league, but now I feel like we do have enough wide receivers with the catching ability, to now be a part of the passing league and, actually go stride for stride with some teams and not out here trying to force the pass. Devin Duvernay will definitely make an impact on special teams. I know that's something we all been, crying about. Crying about because we've been wanting that spark, when it comes to punt returns and kickoff stuff like that. So, he definitely will still be utilized. I hope we still use him as a wide receiver because I would hate for him to become, the next gadget guy. Ravens offense, if we had a better offensive coordinator and creativity, I can see him flourishing. He could possibly be, our Le'Veon Bell style of player, since we, most likely won't get him. But that all comes down to your creativity and how we utilize, our weapons.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what the Ravens do in the passing game, not just with the concepts and schemes that they do, but where they put everybody. I know a lot of people have been saying, this is Hollywood's year to be in the slot, but, we also have Devin Duvernay, and he can play in the slot. He is a slot wide receiver, and there's just a lot of things that we can see personnel-wise in addition to the schematic changes that we'll see with the additions of T. Martin and the additions of Keith Williams. So that's very exciting to be able to see, up until week 5. The Greg Roman deadline, the G-Row deadline.
That's our deadline for Greg, for G-Row.
Yeah, and I will say for anybody watching that's interested, when the season starts, every single Monday I will have out the Roman report, and I'm going to have rewatched the entire game and analyzed Greg Roman's entire performance completely and give him a grade, so that I can say how good is he doing, because I think that would be entertaining to really analyze Greg Roman. Because a lot of times we watch the game and maybe after we say like, oh, it was Greg Roman's fault, but then we rewatch and we're like, oh, you know what, he actually had some good schemes. It was just lack of execution or whatever happened. Yeah. I see Abdi Hassan in the chat. He says, what's up, family? How you doing, Abdi? What's going on, Don C? We got a good question from Abdi Hassan saying, are we still trying to sign Justin Houston? We are not currently. It does not look like the Ravens are trying to sign Justin Houston. It does not look like they have any interest currently. However, they could be playing the waiting game. The waiting game of once players start getting cut, does that increase the supply of edge rushers, therefore decreasing the price of Justin Houston to where maybe the Ravens could afford him? But right now, it does not appear like they have the money to be able to afford Justin Houston, even though he was the guy that so many of us Ravens fans wanted. It's unfortunate, but it doesn't look like it, and it's really sad.
But, yeah, I mean, we're out the loop just like everybody else. Honestly, if Justin Houston, if he waits out this year, I think he may have to retire. Because what he's pushing, 35, 30?
Yeah, he's getting up there. I think he's about 31 or 32 years old.
Okay.
And
yeah,
he's had some big injuries in his career. It's been a while, but he's had some.
Yeah, man. I mean, we will want a guy like that, a veteran guy that still can come out, produce, generate some pass rush, be a teacher to these young guys. But at the same time, if you're 31, 32 years old, I wouldn't say he's not declining. He's at a steady pace. But for the money that he's asking for, I don't think a lot of teams gonna make that push unless it's a real dire need.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Charlie Bonners asks, how do you feel if we get Melvin Ingram instead? My issue with Melvin Ingram, I don't really want him because, he was a guy who got 0 sacks last season. And not only did he get 0 sacks, he got 0 sacks as the number 2 option. And I know he played in limited games. I believe he only played in 7 games. But overall, he didn't get any sacks. And as a number 2 option to not get any sacks, that is very, very concerning at his age and having injuries. It makes it very difficult for me to look at Melvin Ingram and say, hey, I really want this guy in Baltimore, when we could just try out some of the new guys like Odafe Oweh and Dalen Hayes and, even let Tyus Bowser get in on the action and, really let Sack Daddy flourish, Jalen Ferguson, in replacing him, because we need to know what's going on with those players and can they be viable for the future. So I'm not huge on Melvin Ingram. Joshua, do you agree or what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. The whole thing about me is durability. I think with a lot of guys that had durability issues when on the defensive side, it will help them out a lot. Of course, we have a lot of players that do get a lot of snaps, but when it comes to that front 7, we have so many interchangeable pieces. I think that could help Melvin Ingram. But at the same time, we had two young guys, generate no pass rush and barely get sacks. And I'm talking about, Mr. Matthew Judon that felt like he was getting slighted here, and Mr. Yannick Ngakwe. So I'm not about to take my chances with the guy.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, is it worth he would probably be an upgrade, but it would be a very, very short-term upgrade. And I think I would rather get to see the development of our young players to know what we have for the future, rather than getting 1 year. And I see a question from Izana Kibret, saying, did Ingram play outside linebacker, defensive end in the Chargers 3-4? I know they played Bosa at DM, but I'm not sure about Ingram. Ingram played 3-4 outside linebacker, and then they had, who did they draft? Who was the linebacker that we were going to draft last year out of Oklahoma?
Keith Murray.
Yeah, Kenneth Murray. He played the other outside linebacker spot, but in the coverage role in 3-4. But yeah, Melvin Ingram did play 3-4 outside linebacker, which is what I would expect him to play for us. So he's definitely played that role before. That is not something that he would be new to. And I see this question. Abi Hassan says, what about Baltimore Ravens trading for Von Miller? It's one of those things where I don't think that we would trade for him. I really don't. If he was a player, I don't know what his contract is, but I would expect that it is more than $10 million. And one of the biggest issues is that the Ravens don't have the money to pay that type of cash unless they traded away somebody else that was making good money. And I don't think that we want to trade a Calais Campbell for a Von Miller, when Von Miller last year, I believe, had a significant injury and he missed the entire season. And he is a cut candidate. He really is a cut candidate. And I think the Ravens have a possibility of signing him after he's cut. But it's just one of those things. We don't have the money. If we had the money, I would be all in on sending over a 3rd-round pick and a 5th-round pick for Von Miller. I would 100% do it. He's an all-time great player. But I don't think we can afford him. But I don't know. Would he be a guy, Joshua, if he was cut? Would you be all in on him?
If Justin Houston wasn't available, I definitely try to see, after the veteran cuts and everything like that, to see if we can still sign Justin Houston, maybe for a vet minimum or something like that. But if he still doesn't bite, then that would probably be my next option.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a good question. If you guys don't know, you guys can ask us any questions that you want. It doesn't have to be Ravens related. It can be about whatever. And we will not give any sort of spoilers or anything like that. Personally, I have not seen Black Widow. But if you guys ever ask questions about stuff like that, and you want to know our response, like we won't give any spoilers, things like that. You do say, I would have thought it had been better if it came out between Civil War and Infinity War, but still not a bad movie. Okay. We talked about this. Funny enough, we recorded our most recent podcast, the Trust the Bank podcast. We recorded it yesterday, talking about, and it's coming out the next 3 days after today. And it's pretty funny because we did talk about basically how they decided to make compared Deshaun Elliott to Black Widow, in the sense that Deshaun Elliott, we thought we'd get to see him, his rookie year, and it just kept getting pushed back and back and back, and all of a sudden it's his 4th year and you're finally getting to see it. And that was kind of how Black Widow, because it should have come out 3 years ago. You don't want to come out with a kind of origin story movie when the character, if you haven't seen Endgame, too late, spoiler, when the character's already dead, it's really like not necessary to make an origin story for a character that you already know has no future. I think that's really weird, unless it was a character that was a minor character, for example, like Obi-Wan Kenobi and things like that in Star Wars prequels. Like you didn't really know who Obi-Wan was if you just watched Star Wars A New Hope and things like that. So if it had come out earlier, I would have been much more excited for it. I definitely would have watched it like in theaters. I don't even know if I'm going to watch it in theaters, because I just have even though I'm a massive Marvel fan, I just don't have there's nothing that's drawing me to this movie at all. But Joshua, what did you think?
I haven't watched it yet. Like honestly, I'm looking more forward. I'm looking more forward to like the Immortals and I forgot the
Shang-Chi, the Immortals, Spider-Man. Those are the ones I'm seeing in theaters. Those are the ones opening night. Everybody wants
to see Multiverse Spider-Man versus Black Widow. Like I'm looking forward to seeing Tom Holland. I'm not big on Andrew, but definitely Toby.
Yeah. Nobody's big on Andrew. If you're big on Andrew, Tobey Maguire, go with Spider-Man. I firmly believe the greatest Superman movie or superhero movie of all time is Spider-Man 2. I'm sorry, Heath Ledger. I'm sorry, Christian Bale. I'm sorry, whatever other superhero movie y'all think is the best. I'm sorry to the cast of Sky High. It's Spider-Man 2.
Man, Tobey Maguire had so much fun in Spider-Man 2. Man, listen. But everybody be ready for Carnage and Venom. That's going to be the one.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
I just don't like how they make Venom a superhero now. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, we got another good question. This one's from Azana saying, "Have you guys seen Space Jam 2?" I haven't yet. I don't really want to watch it at all. I'm going to watch it probably in the next couple of days. I'm gonna watch it. I just it's the most unnecessary movie probably of all time. I don't even think the original was very good, but it was at least kind of unique. I like the Looney Tunes characters. I like that kind of style of animation. This one looks way overdone. So I don't know. Have you seen it yet, Joshua?
No, I didn't get to watch it last night, man. Honestly, I think us as adults in our adult age now, when we just pretty much tone it out. This is a movie for the kids. Of course, the kids going 9 times out of 10 love it, but us that grew up on Space Jam, Michael Jordan, wearing the Space Jam 11s and stuff like that. I don't think it's going to match up to the original, but it's good to see LeBron out here being the businessman that he is and making that generational wealth.
Yeah, it's one of those things where honestly, they could have done it where they were let's just cater it to the audience that originally watched it rather than making it another kids movie. Mm-hmm. I think that would definitely have changed it, and also I'm pretty sure they changed, they're not called the Monstars anymore. Which makes no sense, and it's just kind of weird. It kind of would have been cool if the aliens returned from Mars or whatever, and we're hey, Michael Jordan's gone. Basically, honestly, kind of like Darkseid in Zack Snyder's Justice League, when he's basically, there's no lanterns to protect them anymore, no Kryptonians, no lanterns, open planet, or whatever exactly Darkseid said. But
Pretty much, we need to
Yeah.
run that back one more time. Come on, man. 5v5. Come on, man. Y'all know how it goes.
Yeah. They're going to come back and, but I don't know. It's a bit weird, but, here we go. This is a good question from Sancho Mac. Who are the other potential cut candidates out there that you think the Ravens could sign, like Avon and Miller? Well, I've already made a video on 2 potential cut candidates. However, I've looked into a lot of players that we could talk about. I'll make videos about them at some point. But the 2 guys that I talked about were Mario Addison and Jimmy Graham. I talked about as potential cut candidates from the Bears and the Bills. Another player that I think could be really intriguing that the Ravens could go after. I don't know if y'all would like this, but it could be David Johnson. He's playing with the Texans. The Texans just brought in Mark Ingram. The Texans, I believe, I want to say they drafted somebody. I can't exactly remember what they did, but they have a group of running backs that is solid. And David Johnson, they brought in. He was not good last year. They were kind of hoping for a return to, what was it, 2017 David Johnson, when he was absolutely crazy. He was a monster. Nobody could stop him. He was in the passing game. He was rushing the football. He was breaking tackles. He wasn't that guy. He really struggled with Houston. Now, that entire offense struggled. They lost DeAndre Hopkins. They lost their head coach. It's rough. But there's a chance that they decide to cut him on a massive contract, and they just may be like, all right, we'll take the dead cap this year. Our team's not going to be good. Deshaun Watson's not going to play for us anymore. So let's see what we can get. And I think that he could be cut because he when he was in Arizona, he was considered untradeable because of how bad his contract was. No analyst thought that he would be traded. Not Ian Rappaport, not unsure. Like, they thought legitimately, like, you can't trade this guy. He is stuck in Arizona with that massive contract. And all of a sudden, that's the forgotten part of the Bill O'Brien trade for DeAndre Hopkins. Is not only did they send a second-round pick, they got a negative asset in David Johnson. I like David Johnson as a player, but that contract was so ridiculous. Like, people were like, you couldn't pay Hop, but you took on that contract. That was the worst part of the deal. It wasn't even sending the second-round pick. And so if they're able to cut him, he could come in and Azana says he'd instantly become our best receiving back. Exactly. He would be that level of player that could potentially come in and compete. And if he isn't that guy, well, we're not signing him to a $20 million contract. We're signing him to a $3 million contract, and we can cut him and not really lose out on anything. So if we see like, oh, wow, this guy could really be something special with our offensive line, because he's never had a good offensive line. He's never had a good offense, really. Arizona, when he was there, I want to say, who was the quarterback? It was a backup quarterback that came in and played the year. I can't remember who it was. I remember he used to run down the field and always do dances.
For Arizona?
Yeah, I can't remember his name. I'm really sad that I can't remember his name. It's like,
I can't think of it.
I keep thinking Ken Stabler, but it's definitely not Ken Stabler. But
it wasn't the guy that
Drew Stanton. Drew Stanton was the quarterback in Arizona. Not a very good quarterback. The best wide receiver is Larry Fitzgerald. I like Larry Fitz. He actually gave us a shout out one time, which was pretty cool. But yeah, he'd become a great running back. What do you think, Joshua? What do you think about David Johnson and potentially going after him if he's cut by the Texans?
Oh man, listen, I'm really not sold on David Johnson. Just have to. He's another guy, durability, man. And right now, we as a fan base, we have to understand, we are in contingency Super Bowl mode. We're trying to win a couple, not just one, a couple. Especially while we still have our quarterback, which the deal is going to get done. We just got to wait on it. So, I'm looking for guys that can go ahead, that can contribute. Durability, stamina, guys that got that extra motor that just plays the Ravens way. And I don't think David Johnson is going to fit that mold for us.
I think that's definitely fair. I mean, there are significant concerns, and the issue is we would sign him to a 1-year deal. And if he did prove himself and be really good, and people were like, wow, and a good offense, this guy's back to 2017 David Johnson.
Yeah.
Boom. He could easily get a $10-15 million contract right after one season. And that's not something that's good for consistency. But I also see Abi Hassan saying, "What about Baltimore Ravens at safety? Malik Hooker, he is a game changer." Yes, Malik Hooker. That is one of the. I want to say in the first 2 weeks of this channel, I made a video on why the Ravens should go after Malik Hooker.
Yes, he did.
And it's because he is a player that is a ball hawk safety. Yes, he's had injury history, but he gets picks. You can't beat the Chiefs off of fumbles and run defense. Why? Because they don't run the ball. You can't beat the Bills off of fumbles and run defense. Why? They played against us and they didn't even run the ball. They ran the ball like one time in the first half. Like, it's just one of those things where you have to be a particular defense to beat certain teams, and the Ravens need picks. Malik Hooker brings picks, so I would love Malik Hooker. What do you think, Joshua? Are you in on Malik?
Hey man, we most definitely spoke about this. I definitely feel like Malik Hooker will be a great addition to our strong secondary, and that over the top coverage. That's what we need at the end of the day. Especially we're going to be playing against these pass heavy teams. So someone over top of the coverage to help Marcus Peters out. Get some more interceptions and take a relief off the secondary, and even put us in a good position, and maybe even give us a pick six. I would definitely. I'm definitely all for it.
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think there's a better safety. I mean, he would be a better addition than maybe even any safety that the Ravens had in the draft in terms of immediate impact. And I know a lot of us liked Trayvon Moehrig. Some people liked Javon Holland. Some people liked Richie Grant was the safety out of UCF. He would be a lot of fun. Sancho says Hooker would be great if healthy. I completely agree.
Yeah.
We have a question from Eric Chen. I'll let you go first, Joshua. Do you think the Ravens rely too much on their coaching and player development ability, as they clearly prefer to draft young, unproven guys rather than sign or trade for proven star talent?
Dang, Eric, where you been at? That's a good question. I mean for the Ravens, as long as they've been in the NFL, you haven't really seen them getting any proven star players. The only proven star players, let's look at it. Ray Lewis, Jonathan Ogden, Ed Reed. I would say Ray Rice. He wasn't a development guy. Torrey Smith, that was a development guy that only knew back then. He only knew how to run 9 routes, and then we started getting more players. For the offensive side of the ball on the back end. Now, when it came to offensive line, I think we hit the nail. I think we hit the nail on the coffin with a couple of offensive linemen. I definitely feel like to compete in this league, we do have to get some more star-studded players. Now, I will say this, with Eric DeCosta as a general manager, he has been doing exactly that, getting some star names. Not to say Ozzie Newsome never did that, but you have to understand, there's diamonds in the rough and everywhere, whether it's in the XFL, CFL, overseas football, D3 college football, or in the late rounds of the draft. You just had those players, once they get that call, they have to come out and produce. So it's not always unproven talent. Sometimes you need that push to actually reach your full potential. But I definitely feel like we rely too much on our coaching staff, especially when it came to wide receivers for the past, I don't know how many years, to get that potential out of those guys. I would say, when it came to wide receivers, we needed more studs, and now we're doing that. We're drafting studs now.
Yeah, we've talked about this a little bit. I can't remember if it was us talking about it or maybe I made a solo video on it. And we've talked about the Ravens way a couple of times. Ozzie Newsome started it. It has continued through his protege, Eric DeCosta. And the Ravens way is that the Ravens are going to build internally and they don't want to overpay players. And so what are the cheapest players? Rookie contracts and veteran deals. There's so many times where teams sign a player that seemingly was very good on their rookie deal. All of a sudden they get a $15, $16, $17 million contract, and they are no longer that guy. Okay, they just unfortunately, for example, Pernell McPhee, rookie with the Ravens, okay? He was good. Ravens say, you know what? We don't want to pay you the big bucks. Go to Chicago. Kind of struggles a little bit. He wasn't bad by any means, but he didn't develop into the player I think Chicago was hoping he would.
Right.
And all of a sudden the Ravens are like, oh, you're cheap now. Get on back here. Come on. Get back here. We'll use you, because the Ravens understand that you gotta find where is it most useful to spend your money. You got to spend your money on your franchise players. Luckily, the Ravens are very good at drafting franchise players, which makes it way easier than being teams that can't draft franchise players and have to try and bring in a new player every single time, i.e. the Denver Broncos. These guys are bringing in a new quarterback every single year because they can't draft him. And what happens when you bring in a new player? Okay, it is difficult to get them on track. The younger players, when you draft a player, you get 4 years. If they're a first round pick, you get 5 years of them completely learning the system, focusing on their game, and getting better with your coaching staff. And then when you get them into that next contract, if you pay them, if you decide, okay, because you get a 4 or 5 year evaluation period.
Yeah.
And you can really analyze how do they really work in practice. You don't get to know that about the guys coming out of the rookie contract. You don't know, what they're like at practice, how hard they work, their bond with their teammates and things like that. You know that when you draft the players. And so they're able to understand their players in a much better way. And they can figure out, is this guy really going to be a part of this team? Mm-hmm. With CJ Mosley was a very good linebacker for the Ravens. Could have won Defensive Rookie of the Year if Khalil Mack wasn't drafted in the same year as CJ Mosley. But CJ Mosley was a you could say top 3 linebacker in the NFL. I don't think it was Bobby Wagner or Luke Kuechly level player. However, he was very good. He was top 3. He was a clear Pro Bowl linebacker. However, the Ravens analyzed him and said, you know what? We can let him go. He's not a player that we have to keep. So he goes to the Jets. Hasn't played for he played like 1 or 2 games for the Jets, got hurt, then opted out for last year's season. In comparison, Marlon Humphrey. We draft Marlon Humphrey, comes in, stud cornerback, very physical, plays like a Raven, and the Ravens say, yeah, we want that. And they make sure to lock him up before he ever even gets to go to free agency. They didn't do that with CJ Mosley. They were like, okay, once we got to free agency, they were like, hey, here's kind of our offer. If you leave, you'll leave. Marlon Humphrey, it was, you're a Raven, you're going to keep there. Why? Because they felt like he fit the time frame and things like that. That's the Ravens' way, is building out of those things. Now, do they rely too much on that? I don't think so, just because that is what the successful teams in recent history have done. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs. Look at their star players. Chris Jones. The only player that they've brought in, I don't know why I didn't say Patrick Mahomes first, say Chris Jones. The only player that they brought in was Tyrann Mathieu. Mm-hmm. Of their elite players. Okay. Obviously they've brought in other players like Sammy Watkins and things like that. But overall, they're drafted guys. Bill Belichick, general manager / head coach in the New England Patriots. What did he do? Got him on cheap, let him walk. That's what the teams that have had success have done. When the Eagles won their Super Bowl, what did they do? There were a lot of drafted guys. Fletcher Cox, Derek Barnett. I'm trying to remember that team. Darius Mills, Carson Wentz. And you may say Carson Wentz didn't play quarterback then. Carson Wentz was the MVP of the league up until he got hurt in week 13. If he hadn't gotten hurt, he wouldn't have won the MVP. He put them in that situation to allow that. And so that team was designed by that team to build up. There's one team in the NFL that is doing what Ravens fans want to do. The Los Angeles Rams. The Rams trade all their picks. They trade all their picks. I'm pretty sure they haven't drafted in the first round in 3 years, and they won't do it for another 3 more. They trade all their picks. They give all their money into free agents. They're like, hey, you Brandon Cooks, get over here. Hey, you Jalen Ramsey, get over here from Saxonville. All these guys. Matthew Stafford, we don't like our quarterback. Matthew Stafford, come on, get over here. Get over here. Come on, Matthew Stafford. And they're continuously bringing in more and more people, and their salary cap situation is terrible. Like they're always like, oh, we got to cut this guy. This guy's really good because they can't pay him. And they're in that situation where if one guy gets hurt, if Aaron Donald gets hurt, obviously they drafted Aaron Donald. That's a decent draft pick. He's one of the best defensive players of all time. But, you get that one player that gets hurt. If Aaron Donald, I don't know, let's just say he were to tear his ACL or his Achilles. Like, obviously you don't want that to happen. But if that happened and they're really bad, they're in the same situation the Texans are in this year. Oh, we traded 2 picks to the Miami Dolphins for Laramie Tunsil. We lost our quarterback for the year. We can't draft. Now our team sucks, and they're just in a pit because they went all in and it didn't work out.
Yeah.
The Ravens are playing it safe in that aspect because they're building it out their own way. And if you rely too much on these massive contracts for all these different players, like they also brought in Marcus Peters. They were like, Marcus Peters, come on, pair up with Jalen Ramsey. They brought in the Broncos cornerback, Aqib Talib, I believe it was. Yeah, and they were like, come on, Aqib. They just keep doing it, and they keep cycling, and they're not able to get back. So I don't think that we're doing it too much because the teams that focus on free agency more are the teams that aren't as good. Look at the teams that are big spenders in free agency. It's like this year, it's like the Texans, the Jets, like these teams that aren't good are paying a lot of money because they aren't good, and that's their issue. The Ravens are able to at least develop that. They do focus on the development ability. I do think they're lacking in the development ability, but overall, that's my take on it. And I see Eric Chen saying everyone is hyping up the Rams this year. Okay, I thought I was like super high on the Rams this year when I was like, yeah, they could be Super Bowl contenders, but I'm not really sure that they'll win their division. They could be a wild card team. I'm a big Matthew Stafford fan, as viewers may know. And like all of a sudden, the Rams people are like, this is the greatest team in the history of football. Matthew Stafford is the best quarterback ever. And I'm like, wow, I was one of the biggest supporters of Matthew Stafford. And then all of a sudden he goes to the Rams and people were like, this is he's better than Mahomes. He's got the greatest skill we've ever seen. And it's like, okay, y'all got to calm down. Like, it seems like every year a guy is picked and they're like, this guy's going to get hyped up to ridiculous proportions. And this year it's Matthew Stafford. And I like Matthew Stafford. I'm a fan of Matthew Stafford. I think he was incredibly underrated his entire career in Detroit. But all of a sudden, everybody jumped on the train. That's kind of crazy.
That's because, like you said, he's in Detroit. He didn't have no Megatron. They another team, try to invest like on the defense and stuff like that, and they just couldn't produce. I don't know when Detroit will ever be, a contender, but man, I hope it's definitely a turnaround for him in LA. But I like what you said as far as how we look at it in regards to we build from the ground up. A lot of teams need to take from that, and I love what we do here in Baltimore.
Yeah, it's one of those things that, yeah, it would be nice to get guys. I see Eric Chen says, I still think we should have gotten Julio Jones. That Julio contract, I'm going to say, I've said it plenty of times in my life. I'm saying it again. Highly paid wide receivers don't win Super Bowls. Like, I love wide receivers. However, has Julio ever won? No. When did AB win? When he was a rookie. When did Calvin win? Oh, never. When did Terrell Owens win his Super Bowl? Oh, wait, that's right. He didn't. When did let's see. The only guy that you can say is Jerry Rice. But like, when did Larry Fitzgerald win the Super Bowl? Oh, he didn't. He got there. Julio got there. They weren't able to win. And that's not saying those players are bad. It's just that the wide receiver position is overpaid in my opinion, and Julio Jones is getting a lot of money. Now, I still would have liked Julio Jones. If the Ravens could have made it work, I would have been thrilled. But it's just an unfortunate situation, that the Ravens were put in with the Titans getting him and all that. But, we shall see. But let's see. Here's a good question. I'll let you go first, Joshua. Do you think the Ravens need to add tight end Zach Ertz from the Eagles?
Oh, man. I said, that definitely be a good addition. Do I feel like we need to add him? No. For the simple fact, we still have Mark Andrews, we still have, Nick Boyle. Not saying he's the best pass catching tight end, but he is developing. He's catching the ball more with his hands and not his body. And that third one is up for grabs. It's like if you haven't realized, when it comes to Ravens football, we know how to produce a tight end. So that's something, I'm least worried about. Whether even if they're injury prone. I mean, hell, we talked about it yesterday. Dennis Pitta, even though he went down catching the ball in open space due to a hip, and it ended up being a hip injury, we had him. We had him for a good amount of time, and he produced a lot. Even Ed Dixon, when he was here, he produced a good number of catches and touchdowns. Only person that I think we missed out on is Darren Waller. We moved too late on his development to make him a tight end. But as you see now, I believe he's in the top 10 or top 15 of tight ends in the league as of right now. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I definitely feel like, bringing in Zach Ertz, it could boost us if, the other guys that we have in Owens Mills doesn't work out. But I don't feel like, he's going to make or break the team.
Yeah, the main question is, how would we be acquiring Zach Ertz? Are we getting him via trade? Mm-hmm. Because that is... I'm going to respond to the ultimate troll. I will get back to Zach Ertz.
He's here?
But what? Nobody is good in the Rams division? I'm going to say it right now. I think that is clearly the best division in the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers are going to be really, really difficult to beat. The Rams are going to be really difficult to beat. The Seahawks, I do think the Seahawks are overrated. However, Russell Wilson's always in a game. He's still a tough player to beat. And the Cardinals, they've made some additions. I don't think they're there yet. But I think they're a good football team. They're a possible 8-win team. Maybe 9-win teams in the 17-game season. Like, this is every team in this division could win 10 games at least. Like, they have two teams that could win 14 or 15 games, and I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. So you wildin' on that one, Cincy edits. Getting back to Zach Ertz, I saw that and I was like, what? What's going on here? Zach Ertz, how are we going to get him? Are we going to trade for him with the Eagles? I don't think that's worth it whatsoever. Like, that's, Zach Ertz is making, I believe the contract is $10 million. He's one of the highest paid tight ends in the NFL currently. And he's a guy that's legitimately being replaced by Dallas Goedert. Dallas Goedert is a good tight end. However, it's not like he's a Darren Waller. He's not a George Kittle or Travis Kelce or anything like that. Like, he's a top 10 level tight end in the NFL, like lower end top 10. And he's getting replaced. That just shows you, like, oh, how good is Zach Ertz anymore? He's not the same guy that he used to be. If this was prime Zach Ertz, if y'all don't know, look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Hold on. Look at this. Look at this. I'm a Stanford fan. Zach Ertz coming to Baltimore, I would be that would be cool. Seeing Stanford. I was at, I want to say it's 2012, or number 2 Oregon played, like, I believe 13 or 11th ranked Stanford. Zach Ertz had the game-tying touchdown with less than 2 minutes remaining in the game on a bobbled catch that was, like, reviewed for like 15 minutes to see whether or not he was inbounds. One of the greatest catches you'll ever see. Goes into overtime. Stanford upsets Oregon at Oregon. Like, I love Zach Ertz. However, he is not the same player that he used to be. And the Ravens need a hybrid tight end that can block. And the Ravens tight ends currently, even Nick Boyle, he's good after the catch. Zach Ertz is a possession wide receiver or possession tight end that's going to go down after he catches the football. But, guys like Ben Mason, I think Ben Mason, when he catches that ball, he's going to work for extra yards. He's going to run down the field. He's athletic. The weapon, Josh Oliver, honestly, the weapon is kind of a possession tight end. He's not anything nice. However, he's a possession tight end, but he's a good blocker. Zach Ertz isn't a great blocker, and he's not going to be able to make big plays for the Ravens. So I'm just concerned about that. So I'm not huge on Zach Ertz, but I do like Zach Ertz. Adit Mahmoud says, shout out to Trey Mancini. Absolutely, shout out to Trey Mancini. for getting in the finals of the home run derby a year after undergoing chemotherapy for stage 3 colon cancer. If Alonso didn't go full Terminator, Trey probably wins it. Yeah. Also, shout out to Pete Alonso. Oh my goodness. I was rooting for Juan Soto. So, I mean, I was just happy when Juan Soto took out Shohei Ohtani. But, like, Juan Soto goes and got, like, whatever, 17 or whatever. And Pete Alonso gets that in, like, 2 minutes. And he passed him and beat him. And I was like, oh my goodness. Like, that was like Salvador Perez. I believe it was Salvador Perez went in the first round against Pete Alonso and had one of like the best home run derby runs ever and lost by like 9 home runs to Pete Alonso. Pete Alonso, absolute monster for the Mets. Yeah, he was fun to watch. Like he was vibing, he was dancing. He made the home run derby really entertaining. And honestly, it was the first home run derby I've ever watched.
Really?
So yeah, I've never been a baseball guy until last year.
Sure.
So and honestly, I got to say this. I wanted to be a Toronto Blue Jays fan for one reason. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I was like, I like Vladdy. And my friend Matt was like, nah, you don't want to be a fan of the Blue Jays. I was like, okay, whatever. And I liked Ozzie Albies, so I picked the Braves. Which, rip the Braves with Ronald Acuna's injury. But yeah.
Vladimir Jr. remind me of his father, man. He's definitely a big hitter.
He is. He got a rocket swing. I mean, he leads baseball in on base plus slug, on base percentage, slug, and batting average. Unbelievable. Absolute best hitter in baseball, not Shohei Ohtani. It's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And he's just fun to watch. I don't know. I like the big guys in baseball. Yeah. I always like the big poppies, the Pablo Sandovals, the Vladimir Guerreros. Those are the guys that I like watching because they just try and kill the baseball. I almost said basketball every time they hit it. But I will say we got about 27 people in here. Let's see how many likes we can get on the stream. If you're enjoying the stream, obviously, if you're not enjoying the stream, you don't have to like it. It's okay. But if you want to, in the description of the stream, you can check out the second channel. But also, I made a video today highlighting the career of Lenny Moore, Baltimore Colt legend, Baltimore legend. And if you want to check that out, that link to that video is in the description below for my talking full. It's called the Football Diary, and I talk all NFL with my co-host Matt. And on the weekends, we always do historical videos to teach you about the history of football. So it's pretty interesting if you want to check it out. You don't have to check it out, but if this is your first time in the stream or, you have any questions, we answer any sort of questions that anybody has. So if you have a question, we were talking about Marvel, we were talking about Space Jam, like we were talking about whatever you guys want to talk about. It doesn't have to be football related. It doesn't have to be Ravens related. Whatever you want to ask, we'll talk about because we're just here to have a good time. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, when we get some questions, when we get a couple more questions, we'll definitely keep talking about it. I don't have any commitments today, so we can definitely stay longer. Last time we only streamed for like 45 minutes because I went golfing and oh my goodness, it was really hot and I didn't have a cart or anything like that. And my bag's kind of broken and I was in so much pain going into the 17th and 18th hole. It was very, very rough experience. But it was a lot of fun. I loved golf, so it was
getting his work out.
It was just rough, yeah. But let's see here. Oh man, I wish I had some water. Oh well, I don't have any water. Here's a good question from Abdi Hassan saying, Michael Thomas, do you still think we can trade for him? I highly doubt that we will trade for him. I think I don't think we will. I love Michael Thomas. I think Michael Thomas is the most overhated player in the NFL. Yes, even more than Lamar Jackson. He just gets less press about the hate Michael Thomas gets. Michael Thomas is less so hated by like the media. He's hated by the fans. Like fans just constantly disrespect his game. but he's one of those guys. He's making a lot of money,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's just one of those things where I don't think we can get him. I just don't think it. I would love to be able to, but I just don't think it's possible. What do you think, Joshua? You thinking there's maybe a move that could be taken that we end up getting him?
I think people forgot that the crab leg king got eye surgery, so now he's feeling better, and
now he's no longer just the 2020 picks; he's the 2020 eyesight. Even though I think he was 30-30, but
so I think he ain't got his cataracts together. I feel like he's gonna see better. I actually follow the Crab King on IG and just see how he actually his work ethic. How he's been actually testing himself with the eye test and things of that nature. He's shown a lot of improvement. And I don't know Michael Thomas is unhappy. I definitely know he wanted Drew Brees to stay there, so to get a Super Bowl because they've been that close. And unfortunate events has happened. But I feel like Michael Thomas is going to be happy with Jameis Winston throwing that ball to him, especially the deep ball, because Michael Thomas is not almost, just like DeAndre Hopkins. He doesn't. Everything that's thrown his way is just about caught. I don't see him getting too many drop passes, and that contract. We just don't have the money right now, so I definitely don't feel like we need to go trade for him. I feel like even though EDC gave us that smoke screen in that press conference about being disrespected by our wide receiver room, I feel like he's more comfortable now about the wide receiving core that he has put together.
Yeah, Jameis Winston is one of my top 5 favorite players in the NFL. Legitimately, I love Jameis Winston. I think he's going to be very good this season, and he's going to be so much better for that offense. I firmly believe that the Saints win that game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers if Jameis Winston plays. The entire problem with that game was Drew Brees could not get a football accurate past 15 yards. He was struggling so much. And it was just very rough to watch. And then they bring in Jameis. He throws like a 55-yard touchdown on the trick play. And it's just one of those things where sometimes, even though a guy's a legend, you got to let him step away. And Drew Brees stepped away, and I think that actually helps New Orleans. I see what's going on, Ryan Waters. Welcome into the stream. I see a question from OTC times 22 gang. Saying, how do you feel about the recent videos of the wide receivers out in Arizona? Looking really, really good. The route runnings look very crisp. The footwork is very, very nice. I'm excited to watch this team play. And Joshua and I got the segment from the podcast coming out. I think it's Tuesday's segment. We talk about some fun stuff about the wide receivers. So it's very exciting. But you have any quick thoughts on the videos?
Not really. Me, I'm always watching, the videos with them coming out, working together. I just love that they are working together, building that chemistry. I love when Lamar's out there. We always used to see Lamar and Hollywood together, but now you're seeing the wide receivers get together, really getting it in. I think they understand, the urgency in the room. And for them to come together the way they have been doing over the summer, we hopefully will see it translate to the field.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric Chen asked a question. What are your expectations for Odafe Away? I'm still very sketchy about the pick since the dude didn't have a sack in college. It seems like the Ravens put too much weight on his athleticism. Joshua, I'll let you go first.
Thank you. Because I know where this is about to go. All right, Ravens fans, I'm going to put it like this. Odafe Away, I know he's pretty much African. I played with an African in my senior year of high school. He was 6'9", 280. Sonny Adogu. He ended up getting offers from University of Miami, UCLA, Alabama, and so forth, just off the strength of his size. And, the crazy thing about it, he never played a down of football. All he did was play basketball in all of his, high school career. I remember it came to a point where in tour days where I overheard my coach say, if he doesn't learn the game, that we're going to be pretty much, we're going to not be the best team in the conference. So one thing I would say, but the thing about Sonny, he had a work ethic that was unmatchable and very unparalleled. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Away is the same way. and he was determined. He was very eager to learn. So yes, we definitely are dependent on his athleticism, but I feel like with the intelligence that Mr. Oway gives, and that IQ level is gonna translate to the field. So I wouldn't say just be worried about don't be so worried about it. As far as the athleticism, he's gonna get it. I feel like he's a bigger upgrade than um, what's his name? He played defensive end for BYU. Asad. I know he produced more. I know he produced more, but he's Odafe is a bigger step. So I would definitely say trust the process. When it comes to the front seven, even in the offensive line, we know how to produce those guys that can get on the field and get to work for us. So I wouldn't worry about it. We just gotta wait till he gets on the field.
So this is very interesting. There's a massive amount of misinformation going around about Odafe Oweh. This idea that he never had a sack in college is incorrect. He didn't have a sack in his junior year of college. Really, it was his sophomore year because I believe he redshirted his freshman year. And he only played in 7 games. He had 6.5 tackles for loss, 0 sacks. However, the year before that, 11 games, 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. That was the year before. If you watch the film on Odafe Oweh, he is at the quarterback. He's playing with Shaka Toney. He's playing with who's the linebacker? Micah Parsons. He's playing with good athletic players, and he is doing his job, which is creating that was his role. His senior year was to create chaos in the backfield and allow when the quarterback gets out of the pocket, Shaka Toney, Micah Parsons are able to swarm all over him. He isn't somebody that's like, he just never got a sack. He didn't get a sack 1 year in a last year is the weirdest college football season we've probably ever had. And that's one of those things where, it may have affected his game, but at the same time, he balled out. If you watch him in college, you can tell that this guy's a stud. It wasn't something where it was like, he just never got by anybody. He got by people all the time. He just forced the escape from the quarterback, and it resulted in a sack for another player. And that's one of those things that we just have to recognize with him, is that he's not somebody that can't do anything. He is a guy that's had production in the Big Ten, and his role last year just wasn't the get a ton of sacks role. It was the go out there, cause havoc, and let your teammates get the praise. And his teammates got the praise. As Micah Parsons, I believe, was drafted 11th overall by the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah. And, Shaka Toney was he was either drafted or he was undrafted and picked up by the Washington football team. And I loved Shaka Toney coming out of the draft. I thought he's going to be really, really good if he gets an opportunity in Washington. But
let's compare it to this. University of Kentucky. 3-4 years ago, let's remember who they had on the opposite sides of each other. Bud and Sedarius. Bud was the bigger name. He was more athletic. But at the end of the day, Sedarius Smith on that opposite side was the one getting those sacks for him. And now look where Sedarius at now. I mean, both of them got good careers. So, you had to think about it, And I think it's because a lot of people didn't watch Penn State football neither, too. So, I mean, I'm definitely a victim of that. Even though Penn State has had some talented players come out these recent years.
Yeah, I mean, Penn State's an interesting team. I'm not a huge fan of watching Penn State. I don't go out of my way to watch them, but they do have, unless they've got Trace McSorley. But overall, they're a good team, and they've had some good players. They also have Yetur Gross-Matos, who was drafted by Carolina last year as an edge rusher, and I want to say he was drafted like 22nd or something like that. But I see Aaron Butler. Aaron Butler agrees. He just didn't get a sack in the games last year. Baltimore Get Up says we only have like $8.5 million right now. This is talking about Michael Thomas. He'd rather get a defensive end and free safety spots more solidified, which is what we were talking about, which we agree with. And Ryan Waters says, smash the like button. Absolutely smash the like button. And as always, ask us any questions you have, Ravens related or other. We're going to talk about it. We're here. We can be here for as long as y'all want us to be. So as long as y'all ask questions, doesn't even have to be about football. Doesn't even have to be about sports. Ask us any sort of questions. We'll go over and we'll have, we're just here to have a good time and talk about what you guys want to hear about. That's why we're here. If you want to check out the second channel, if you want to check out that stuff, you can. If not, just stay here and we'll just keep talking. We'll just keep vibing and we'll just keep having a good time. But
Eric, I can't agree with that. Jadeveon Clowney was more of a household name coming into the league. He was something.
He was the number one pick.
Yeah, not saying Away doesn't match. He doesn't match up to him, but we're talking about a bigger body of work. And then he played in the SEC conference as well. So I definitely can't say Away sounds like Jadeveon.
And I gotta say, he had the greatest defensive play college football has ever seen, and the greatest revenge play football has ever seen. After Michigan got the most BS first down, or I can't remember what it was. It was a yardage marker situation, and it was so ridiculous. And then he just came out and, oh my goodness, murdered that running back. Oh man, that was
Denard Robinson. Yep.
Was Denard Robinson the running back, or was he the quarterback at that point? Because I remember he transitioned to running back like his senior year.
I think that was when he was transitioned to running back.
Oh, rip Denard Robinson.
Right.
Always be a legend for being on the final cover of NCAA football.
Listen,
until it returns.
But remember, I don't know if that hit is worse or what happened to Pat White. Because remember, Pat White got drafted by Miami, and I think it was Lamar Woodley that put him out for the rest of his career. That was a sideline hit. I remember that one.
That one was wild. I see Living Legend is in here. What is going on, Living Legend? Thank you for the compliment. It says great show. Let's see. Baltimore Get Up says different comments. Yeah, they're pretty different players. They're both athletic, but
yeah.
Clowney coming out of South Carolina was like, this guy's going to be a monster. And when they drafted him opposite J.J. Watt, the NFL was scared. Unfortunately, they weren't able to develop him. He doesn't really have a great work ethic. And he's not a bad football player. He's still a good football player, but, we can definitely talk about it. But Ryan Waters says, let's address the elephant in the room. What does everyone think about the media's criticism of Lamar Jackson playing football with the kids? Okay, another video came out in the last couple of days, and it's like Lamar playing with like 10-year-olds. I haven't seen one media person. And he's playing in slides in this. I haven't seen any media people say anything about that video. The video that people have the problem with is when he's going up against, I don't know how old the guys he was going up against were, but it looked like, they could have been late high school. Honestly, they could have been college guys, maybe even a little bit older than college. But they were the same size as Lamar, and they were full pressing, which is very different than him lightly jogging around a bunch of kids in a parking lot and slides. I don't think anybody has a problem with that. And if somebody does have a problem with that, there's just a problem with them. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with, running around a parking lot with, 12-year-olds chasing you with a football in your hand. I don't think anybody can see a problem. But, everybody in the chat, let us know. What are you guys' thoughts on, we can go through what you guys say and talk about, all of your opinions and things like that. This isn't just like the full spotlight on us. We're trying to see what everybody thinks. What do you guys think about it?
Yeah, I think when it comes to this one, I think it'll be best for us to like really hear what y'all have to say, because I know everybody's going to try to bring up different issues. Definitely tune out and wait this week. We definitely speak on it, but we're not us personally. I know myself, and I definitely know McConnell. Just like he just said, we're not stressing. We're not worried about him playing with the kids. Me personally, I'm always about if you're a guy that's made it, whatever you did, whether it's sports, made your own business, whatever, you know, not that you should or that you're obligated, but if you feel like you want to give back to your community, by all means do so. Look, and teach the younger generation. Um, and that's what he's doing with the kids. The kids love him, especially from his neighborhood, especially from I mean, y'all, people know how it goes when you come from the same block, same hood, whatever, and you see that young man or a young lady riding around, doing their thing. Either it's all love, or you get those smiles with the hate, but they really hate you behind your back. I don't agree with the one. I don't agree with the 1v1s on the basketball court for the simple fact that Lamar Jackson is in the NFL. I mean, I know he's 25 years old. He's gonna he's gonna have guys who's like, man, match up with me, stuff like that. That's cool, but let's do it. Let's do it on the field, man. Hey, man, everybody, if that's like a top let's say a 5-star wide receiver. A 5-star wide receiver is not going to go out there and pick a basketball game. If anything, if they say, man, you ain't this, you ain't that, all right, lace up. Let me see, let's get on the field. Let's go to work. Let me show you. We both get 10 catches. If you beat me, then you feel me, you got my respect. You know, something like that. So it's different ways to look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a great statement / question from Baltimore Get Up saying best pickup this year, Keith Williams and T Martin, no question. I don't know if that was supposed to be, like those the like brain teasers or whatever, where they have like they say the and they're like, you didn't see the ha, I got you. So anytime I see the end in, I gotta say I don't think it was intentional. And T Martin, no question. Do you think Brown and Andrews, etc., will look even better with the routes this season? I gotta say, people underrate the heck out of Marquise Brown's route running ability. He is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL when it comes to generating separation with routes run. The issue has always been the routes that he is forced to run and the concepts that he is given. Now with Mark Andrews, I'm not concerned with the route running as much with Mark Andrews. It's the hands. I think that he needs to work on those hands. I think he's definitely going to work on them. So if the hands for Mark Andrews get better and the routes for Hollywood get better, there's going to be no stopping this offense. Like the schemes and everything like that's going to come together with T. Martin and Keith Williams. I do agree that this is the best pickup for this year, and not just for the Ravens. I think this is the best pickup in the NFL. Like I don't see another team making a move like this that is as necessary as what it really is. But what do you think, Joshua?
This something else y'all gonna have to listen to, in the upcoming videos. We actually talked about it in the podcast, man. I'll say it again. This is definitely one of the most underrated picks. There's not even a player pick that the Ravens have made in years. We never been able to really develop wide receivers, but now you found some guys. I don't know. I think Keith and T. Martin are maybe mid-30s, late 30 guys, but now you find you're coaching guys, that's like little brother, and they like and it's almost like that big bro little bro situation. I don't know if y'all played high school sports. Y'all had that older coach on that young mid-age older coach on the team, but he's the one that always like looked out, and he was like, little bro, you gotta do X, Y, and Z. Get right. You got to get right. You got to tighten up. And I feel like Keith Williams and T. Martin are those type of guys. That are being those mentors to these wide receivers, because you haven't seen this camaraderie over the off season, since Lamar has taken over, or since Marquise been drafted. I feel like it's definitely a different type of level of urgency and intensity. I say it again, in this locker room for this upcoming year, and I feel like we're gonna see a transition on the field. So I definitely feel like with the additions of Keith Williams and T. Martin, we're going to see better routes. We're going to see better camaraderie, everything, man. It's going to look. I feel like we're in for a surprise this upcoming year.
Yeah, absolutely. And to follow that up, let's talk about Sick Kick Sneaker Session saying, I have a feeling in my bones we're going to win it all this year. The Super Bowl is in my city this year, Lamar. I'll be waiting for you. Yeah, this is the year. This is when it happens, right? It happens when people no longer expect it. The last couple of years, the Ravens have been the favorite. Or maybe not statistically the favorite, but like, okay, they're in the top three, clearly in the top three for best odds to win.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden the Ravens are putting in, people are putting out their depth chart rankings and their power rankings, and it's like Ravens number 9, Ravens number 10, and it's like, what happened? The Ravens lost like 2 games because of ridiculous COVID concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And they still made the playoffs and won a playoff game. And it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know. I absolutely, I've already bet on the Ravens to win the Super Bowl this year. Like, I really think it's going to happen. I don't know. It's just one of those things where eventually it's going to happen. It always happens when you're not expecting it to happen. It's difficult to be the expected to win. Look at Gonzaga in the NCAA March Madness tournament. Who was expected to win? Gonzaga. Who won? Baylor. Who picked Baylor to beat Gonzaga in the championship? Me. But Josh, what do you think? Is this the year? Is this our year?
Hey man, I've been saying and it's not just being a Ravens fan. It just feels like, there's a lot of guys in that locker room with chips on their shoulder. I feel like, we have that team. It reminds me almost of that Philadelphia Eagles team. When Nick Foles took over and went to the Super Bowl. Them guys play for each other. And, we got guys that play for Lamar Jackson, and we got guys that love playing, for this organization. We got guys that, that bleed that purple and black, man. So, I definitely feel like even though the game is changing, the game is evolving, I feel like we definitely have that group that can get us to the Super Bowl and get us that W.
Absolutely. Let's see right here. A lot of people. Sidekick Sneaker Session says salute to you, gentlemen. I see y'all putting in that work. Thank you. Y'all already know every single day for like, I want to say it's 130, 140 days consecutively. It's been, which is crazy. But does anybody have any other questions? I saw somebody ask, like, I can scroll back up to it and find it. And it was asking about Frank Clark.
Yeah.
If the Chiefs release Frank Clark, can the Baltimore Ravens sign him?
Wasn't Frank Clark in some trouble?
Yes, he was arrested and he's facing up to 3 years in prison. There is a chance that he doesn't get any prison time. However, it's one of those situations where the NFL could absolutely step in and say 1-year ban, indefinite ban, and we don't know what they're going to do. So they definitely wouldn't be able to sign him this year. I highly, highly doubt they'll be able to get him. I don't really want him. I don't think he's the type of player that the Ravens want. The Ravens typically kind of have a no-nonsense policy when it comes to being arrested and things like that. Like, we loved Ray Rice.
I was about to say, if we didn't just realize, if we didn't, see what happened with Ray Rice years ago and how it was treated, granted, it was an unfortunate event. Me personally, I definitely feel like, Steve Bisciotti could have worked some way around it of, suspending him and letting him be banned and everything like that, serve it and bring him on back. But, at the end of the day, it's a business. And, like McConnell said, Ravens are no tolerance policy here when it comes to, any type of situations. Now, if it was up Modell, it'd be a different story. We saw what happened when it came down to Ray Lewis. Modell was behind his back, 1,000%. But now we live in a world and a society where, when things happen, people have to be immediately disciplined. And not saying you should be disciplined, but, the discipline has been taken to the extreme where it has, messed with people's livelihoods and things of that nature. Some people don't get second chances for some of the things they have done. So, don't think the only time we get second chances as an organization is if you're a veteran player that we know that you still can play. We saw what happened with Washington. He got arrested, and we haven't heard any more. We haven't heard any more about him being on the team.
Yeah, it's one of those things where the Ravens just like it's not worth the risk. And Frank Clark isn't a player like if it was a player like Khalil Mack, I think the Ravens would maybe be like, okay, maybe we take that risk. But Frank Clark is a average football player. Like really, he's nothing special. Wasn't anything special in Seattle. Isn't anything special in Kansas City. I do see Sick Kick Sneaker Session says go Ravens. Thank you so much for the super chat. And obviously go Ravens. Thank you so much for that. We really appreciate that. DD Money says you guys are great. I definitely respect your knowledge about football. Thank you so much. We try our best. We really do. And I see Baltimore Get Up says media wants to make us the villains of the NFL. How crazy would it be if the Super Bowl comes to the dark side? Absolutely. I made a video on this a couple days ago. I've been making videos like overnight, and it's like I'm forgetting days. I started making my video on I can't remember his name, Lenny Moore. Last night at like 10 o'clock. I finished at about 4 a.m. So if you guys want to see that, go check it out. It's in the description below. Lenny Moore, Baltimore legend. But yeah, absolutely. The Ravens are the villain of the NFL because they decided that it was going to be us because we do things differently. Our quarterback does things differently from other quarterbacks. Our team runs our team differently from other teams. And that makes us a threat, and that makes the media want to go after us, which makes it so much better when we end up winning the Super Bowl. It's similar to LeBron in Miami, KD in Golden State. Let's see, who are some other villains that have won? I mean, just Brady winning, whenever he'd win in New England, all those types of things that make it that much sweeter. However, at the same time, people are going to celebrate that much harder when we fall, which is why when we lose to the Bills, the Titans, the Chargers, everybody just goes nuts and crazy, and it's absolutely ridiculous. But what do you think, Joshua? Us being the villains of the NFL, what do you think about it?
Actually, I love it, man. I honestly, I wanted to stop talking about us. Me personally, when we win, just say, hey, the Ravens won, this past Sunday or Monday night. Keep going, maybe call out 1-2 highlights and keep on going with a televised program. We obviously seen what's been going on since we've been in the spotlight. Yes, we've been getting out there and playing ball and even making it to the playoffs, but we haven't made it to the big dance that we really wanted to for amount of reasons. And unfortunately, like McConnell said, because we do things differently, because we have a different style of culture in Baltimore, as they're not going to like it. It reminds me of what's a team. If y'all ever watch Hardball with Keanu Reeves and the Cucumbers, that was the most thuggish little baseball team in the youth baseball. and nobody wanted them to go to the championship. But what did they do even after they lost? They lost one of their players and brother. They still went out there. They still wanted to play, and they won the ship because when they won the first game, they said, "Hey, we going to the ship." So the Ravens are the bad news bears of the NFL. They are the Cucumbers. They are the ones that play hardball. So
and the biggest, and I think the biggest villainous story, Major League. This team's own team wanted them to lose. And only the players and the coach wanted to actually win. The owner, I can't remember her name I believe they were playing for the Cleveland Indians, I believe. Was just like, we want to move to Miami.
Yeah.
That's what we want. So I'm going to build the worst team ever, and we're going to lose. And Major League was like, no, we're going to win. With these scrubs, we're going to win. And they worked their butt off. I don't even remember what happened in that movie. It's been so long since I've seen it. It's a great movie. I love that movie, but
yeah,
it's a lot of fun to watch. Ryan Waters says, Why are we just now hearing about Tom Brady had a torn MCL? I feel like it was leaked to make his GOAT status grow. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Let me say it right here. This is the first time I said it on this channel. Tom Brady is not the greatest football player of all time. Saying it right now. And it says he doesn't run away, so what's the big deal? I will say Tom Brady has some of the greatest footwork the NFL has ever seen at the quarterback position. So having a torn MCL does significantly hurt him in that aspect. It does reduce his mobility in the pocket, which he has always been phenomenal with. But in terms of running, no, it doesn't affect him. However, we're hearing about it now, and you are right. That's a part of thing where it's like you don't hear about it, and it's a thing about legacy. But like, how torn was the MCL? Like, it's one of those things where sometimes even if you're injured, you can still play injured, and things like that. So it may have been something really light, even if it was a torn MCL. It could have been something really light that's like, because Tom Brady, I don't think was the same quarterback that he was in his prime last year. He did struggle throwing the ball a bit deeper. He did struggle with some throws. However, I don't think that was because of the MCL. I think that was more just due to age. I think it just comes out because he's like, he finished the season and nobody found out. And he was like, well, I need people to know. And it's just one of those things. But yeah, it's kind of annoying that, it's always all you ever hear about is Brady and hate on the Ravens. That's kind of the two things that all we ever hear about. But
yeah,
that's the life of being the villain. Aaron Butler says, I also relish the hate and jealousy. Keep winning. That's all that matters. Keep winning. Absolutely. And I like what Baltimore Get Upset saying, got to get my evil laugh ready for when we win. Absolutely.
Had to. You got to hit him with the Mr. Burns hands from The Simpsons.
I see this one's from Jacob Sims, says Big Trust. Yes, Big Trust. AFC North rankings positions. We've talked about this a few times, but mine are Ravens, Steelers, Browns, and then the Langles, with Low Luro. But Joshua, what do you think? What are your ranking predictions?
I got the Ravens, Browns, Steelers, and the Bengals. I feel like the Browns will be that it's going to be. It's really going to come down to between the Bengals and the Browns. Honestly, who can outlast who?
Yeah. Let's see here. I see a question. This is an interesting question. Do you think Lamar can get 4,000 passing yards? I will say the NFL season is now 17 games. Lamar Jackson can absolutely get 4,000 passing yards because if you think about it, I want to pull up his stats so I don't get the numbers wrong. But let's see here. I'll pull up the stats. I'll pull up the numbers. I'll do the quick mental maths. If you look at Lamar Jackson's MVP year, 3,127 yards. Okay. Lamar Jackson in said MVP year sat out, I believe, 5 full quarters of just sitting out. That's one game. Sat out the last game of the season. And then we have a third added game for the 17th game of the season. So if Lamar plays a full season, he needs 3 games to make up 900 yards. But then also you can make it up in the other games where he wasn't throwing for a lot. He can throw for 4,000. Will he? I wouldn't expect him to do it. However, because that's just not what the Ravens are looking for him to do. They're looking for him to be efficient and throw touchdowns rather than throw for total yardage. I think total yardage is a useless statistic. I'm not going to lie. The best quarterback in the NFL rarely ever leads the NFL in passing yards. And I don't think Lamar needs to throw for 4,000 yards to be considered good because that's not what he does. He doesn't throw for yards. That's not his specialty. I do see 40 passing touchdowns. Now that is something that could happen. That is something that could absolutely happen. And that's something that you could, I wouldn't say expect 40 touchdowns this year, but you can hope for it. And I think it could happen. But Joshua, what do you think? 4,000 yards, 40 passing touchdowns. What do you think?
If he wants to win MVP of the NFL season, sure. But personally, I don't feel like the 4,000 passing yards is really needed unless he's really trying to, he's trying to prove himself in this pass happy NFL league now. I don't feel like he needs to prove himself in that fashion. I mean, he shows that he can go out there and play with some of the best and compete with some of the best. So he's already proven himself in that fashion. Now, when it comes down to touchdowns, I definitely feel like he's going to have a high number between 30 or maybe even 42 because, between the run game and his feet, he is going to get us towards the red zone. And, what he loves to do when it comes towards the red zone. If it's not a run, it's always that fade to the middle to Mark Andrews. And now we're having, Sammy Watkins and Rashad Bateman. I do feel like we're going to see that jump ball being more used. So, yeah, I definitely can see the 40 touchdowns being this year. 40 pass touchdowns.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't see any new questions in the chat. However, if you want to ask anything, once again, I'll remind people, you can ask about whatever you want. It doesn't technically have to be about the Ravens. Obviously, we know much more about the Ravens than a lot of other topics. However, if you want us to talk about anything, it doesn't even have to be football. It doesn't even have to be sports related. We'll talk about it. Ask us your questions. We're having a good time. Y'all are being great in the chat. Make sure you hit the like button on the stream. Let's see how many likes we can get. I think the most we've ever had is let's see here. I don't think we're going to get to 90, which I think is our highest, but overall let's just keep going. Let's talk about, let's have a good time. Ask us whatever you want. I see a question from Ryan Waters saying, where do you think the Ravens offense and defense will rank this year? Offense, number one. I don't think there's any reason to not expect the number one offense out of the Ravens this year. And defense, scoring-wise, I'll say number 5, just because the Ravens offense is so efficient that it gives other teams opportunities to be able to score. So that just increases. But I think they'll have a top 3 offense and top 3 defense, in my opinion. But what do you think, Joshua?
I definitely say top 10 for both. We're finally about to get it's going to be more balanced. Hopefully the Ravens do not score as quickly as they have been doing. We have seen, what's happened when the defense has been getting ran down or, going against a run team. I mean, that's only team that really runs the ball besides us is maybe like the Browns. Could be missing another team. In Tennessee Titans. Sorry, but we shut down that factor. But the Browns got Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, who both run the ball efficiently. So once when offense actually utilize a run game, it kind of wear down on the defense. We have seen that happen, and then they've gone over top, and sometimes we've often miscommunication of giving teams points. But I definitely feel like it could be we can go top 10 on both sides of the ball.
Oh, absolutely. I think we should absolutely expect top 10 on both sides of the ball. I mean, this is a team that I think the last few years we have been both top 10 on both sides of the ball. Our offense is, I believe, the number 1 scoring offense over the last 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. And then the defense under Wink is they allow 13 or 15 points per game. Which is phenomenal. So that should be very good. Sick Kicks asks, how do y'all feel about J.K. Dobbins being underrated? He's incredibly underrated. The issue is I don't know if he'll ever get the proper rating that he deserves because he will not ever be a guy that can be top 5 in rushing. Because the Ravens not only use a running back by committee, but they also have Lamar Jackson. And that just reduces the total yards he's able to get. But his efficiency is absolutely incredible. He's a top 10 running. He's a borderline top 10 running back, in my opinion. And that's just as a rookie. He can easily get better, get to a top 5 running back in the NFL spot. However, I don't think that he will ever get the recognition that he deserves as a top back in the NFL because the Ravens just don't have a situation that allows players individually to be recognized as great other than Lamar. He's the only guy that's really people are going to be able to recognize that because he's a quarterback and that's more focused on. But I don't know. What do you think? How underrated is JK, Joshua?
I wouldn't say that much. I definitely feel like he's right there on the cusp. if week 5 if things change, as far as coaching staff, I feel like we can go back to seeing maybe the feature back, even though the community running back situation has been helpful, but we definitely know who's that number one guy. I feel like as years go on, Lamar is not going to want to do any more like design run plays, even though of course he may have his scrambles here and there, but I feel like with J.K. behind him, he will feel less. He will feel the less pressure or the less need to be part of the run game. At this point, we can probably see Lamar just being more of a decoy than anything this year. So I definitely feel like J.K. will take off. If he does take off, as far as being coming out the backfield, passing and running, it takes off a lot of pressure, and then Lamar Jackson will finally have someone he can dump to dump into in emergencies or anything of that nature.
Yeah, and kind of adding on to that, Sick Kick says, could JK get to 1,000 combo yards, rushing and receiving yards? I think so, just based off of the idea that, I want to say he had 800 yards last year. I know he had over 700 yards.
Yeah.
You add an extra game to the season. You add in the idea that he's no longer a rookie, and he was sitting behind Mark Ingram and Gus at the beginning of the year. He should be able to get to 1,000 combined yards. I think he could get up to 1,100 yards. Honestly, that would probably be my expectation, is 1,100 total yards for JK. I would expect a couple hundred in receiving, a couple hundred in rushing.
Yeah, I was definitely going to say 1,200, me personally, for the simple fact, people are still going to crowd the box, and everybody's going to be so keen on Lamar. That's going to, if y'all remember the days when Joe Flacco and the Joe Flacco and Ray Rice era, 9 times out of 10, if Joe Flacco did not throw it to our tight end or Anquan Bolden, who got the ball? Ray Rice. I feel like this upcoming year, it's going to be a lot of J.K. Dobbins, whether it's going to be the short immediate passes or even the draws, with the HB draws. He makes guys miss in the open field. He's just a tank. He knows how to get that yard. He knows how to get those yards at the carry and at the catch. So he's a special specimen. That's Ray Rice 2.0. So I'm looking forward for this upcoming season for JK.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting to see what he does. I see a good question. This possibly could be the last question unless somebody else asks a really good question at the end. But DG Money says, do you guys believe Lamar will win MVP? I think that he absolutely can. Just because look at the expectations that Lamar has.
Mm-hmm.
The Ravens are not seen as the threat that they have been in previous years. Sorry, I'm yawning. I'm very tired. They're not seen as that threat. Ravens fans, we understand that he is a beast. But all of a sudden, there's so much slander going around that the narrative could be created that Lamar is the MVP if he's able to ball out at the beginning of the year and just take over down that stretch when we play against LA and Cleveland and Pittsburgh and Green Bay, all teams that are heavily, other than Pittsburgh, but like Cleveland is loved by the media. The Rams are loved by the media. The Packers are loved by the media. If Lamar goes out there and balls out against all of those guys, how do you not give him the MVP? I mean, that's unless somebody does something that's completely new or breaks a record or things like that. The issue is the total records are all going to get broken eventually, but the increased season length, you got to figure out the averages. Like in my personal opinion, the greatest rushing season in NFL history is 1974. But O.J. Simpson, he averaged 143 yards per game, rushing for I believe 2,006 yards. By far the most rushing yards per game in NFL history, but it's a 14 game season. So it's very difficult to figure it out because Lamar, there's a good chance he breaks his own record for most rushing yards in a year by a quarterback. So I think he can win an MVP. I think he will. I'm yet to do a deep dive though on all the players because I love to do that. I'll definitely talk about that a lot for other players on the Football Diary, but on this channel, we've talked about Lamar and the MVP chances and things like that. But what do you think, Joshua?
Honestly, if we talking about MVP, I want him to win the MVP of the Super Bowl. So I'm gonna say no. He's been there, he's done that. I feel like you got to remember, you got Patrick Mahomes still out there, you got Kyler Murray out there. He's an up and rising guy, and he got D Hop. So you got to think about those other guys around the league. And like McConnell said, it's a 17-game season. You do not know what's going to happen. I mean, hell, Pittsburgh run Najee Harrison to the ground, but you never know what type of how many rushing yards he may put up this season. He's a different specimen type of running back. So sky's the limit. Anything is possible. But me personally, I do not want Lamar to be MVP of this year of the NFL.
All right, I think that's probably a good place to wrap it up. Everybody in the chat, y'all have been great. Thank you for all the questions. It's been a lot of fun. Eventually, we're going to change our streaming schedule. It won't be Saturdays at 5 p.m. Eastern time anymore. Don't know exactly what time it'll be at, but it should be a lot of fun still. Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Make sure to check out the second channel. Make sure to check out the Lenny Moore video. I spent a lot of time on that. I want people to watch it. Go check it out in the description below. But thank you, everybody. We'll see all of you again tomorrow with the Trust the Bank podcast. The next 3 days will all be segments from that. And it's already recorded, so it'll be a lot of fun. And we'll see all of you again then.